Welcome back to Entrepreneur Sales. On this channel, I teach sales at a very high level, discuss different sales topics, conversations, how to beat objections, the psychology, how to run sales teams, all of that. I'm here to help you win, and if you apply what you learn in this channel, you'll definitely do very well for yourself. So I just want to start with challenging you, and I want to challenge a belief system that you have, and that it is being nice is helping me close more deals. It's not, okay? In fact, it might be the very thing that's costing you thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay? Now, before anyone jumps into my comments saying, Nathan, are you telling us to be a jerk? No, I would never do that. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. I'm telling you to stop confusing being nice with being helpful, because they're not the same thing. Some of the nicest people I've ever met couldn't close a door. And some of the highest performing salespeople I've worked with weren't the nicest people in the room, but they cared the most. And there's a difference right there. So I'm going to explain basically the difference, because once you understand it, you'll never sell the same way again. So one thing I want to talk about is I want you to think about your last call, okay? Oh, wait, more so, think about your last sales call that didn't close, okay? The prospect said something like, what do they always say? What do they always say, man? I need to think about it. We're going to wait. Not just the right time. And what did you guys do, okay? Most of you smile, and you say, absolutely, I completely understand. And then they thank them for their time. You literally do these things. You've done it yourselves. I know you can relate to this, okay? And then what happens is you guys hang up, and you tell yourself they just weren't ready. No, okay? Most of the time, you weren't willing to have a difficult conversation, the difficult conversation. Because the moment they gave you resistance, you backed off. Just hit my darn elbow on this thing. You know, you backed off. And not because it was the right sales strategy, because it was emotionally easier. You know, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this. You see, your brain loves comfort, okay? It loves conversations where everyone smiles, everyone agrees, and nobody feels uncomfortable. But sales doesn't happen inside of comfortable conversations. All right? Now, I want you to think about your own life. Every major decision you've ever made, from changing jobs to getting married, starting a business, buying a home, congrats by the way, moving across the country, every one of those decisions probably came with, and I talk about it a lot in my videos, it's uncertainty, okay? A little bit of fear, a little bit of stress, and growth almost always feels uncomfortable. So why do we expect buying decisions to be different? I want you to think about that. It's not. So sometimes you're going to have to be a little challenging. You're going to have to jump in there, okay, and challenge their perspective, get them to switch identities and change beliefs, all to better help them. All to better help them. You know, people don't need another friend, okay? And that kind of leads me to my next topic. Why don't we title it that? Title the next topic, and make sure you're writing all of this down, okay? Make sure you're writing all of this down. But look, it's true that people don't need another friend. Here's something I had to learn the hard way, okay? People don't call a salesperson because they need another friend. They call because they have a problem. And I want you to think about that. If your sink explodes, you don't call a plumber hoping he tells you everything's okay. You call because you want him to come and tell you something's actually wrong and what's actually wrong. Imagine if that plumber walked into your house, he sees water pouring out from under your cabinets, and he says, I didn't want to make you uncomfortable, so I figured I'd just leave. Like, how crazy does that sound? That would be ridiculous. But you guys do it all the time, okay? You do it all the time. You'd fire him immediately. Yet, every day, you see the real problem, okay? You hear the prospect making excuses. You know exactly what's holding them back if you sold the right way. And because that you don't want to create tension, you're going to let someone stay stuck? Like, I guess I just don't understand that. That's not helping people. That's avoiding the conversation. You know, the more things you do that are uncomfortable, the tougher you become. I would like to be tough, not some weak sissy, right? I want to be tough. I want to do things that are uncomfortable that make me better, all right? And that's how you need to think about sales and conversations. Actually, communication is the easiest thing to do. Once you just do it and do it and do it and do it, oh, nothing. So it's getting ready to go down a rabbit hole. But fear is a big thing too. Like, a lot of your internal thinking is holding you back. So anyway, I'll save that topic for another time. But look, you're protecting yourself. You're protecting yourself. You're not protecting the prospect. You're afraid of the tough conversations. Once I had this realization, it really changed my career. Most salespeople think they're protecting the prospect. You're not protecting the prospect, okay? You're protecting yourself. I want you to think about it. Why don't you ask about money? Because you're afraid they'll get comfortable, or because you're uncomfortable, okay? Why don't you ask? What happens if you don't solve this? Is it because you think they can't handle the question? No, it's because you're nervous about asking it. So why don't you challenge weak objections? Oh, because it's respectful, or because you don't want conflict. So I want you to be honest with yourself, okay? Most of the time you're avoiding your own discomfort. It's not theirs. And here's the crazy part. The prospects can feel it, right? People know when you're walking on eggshells. People know when you're afraid to lead. Confidence is contagious, and so is hesitation, right? So you need to act like a lion and not I don't even know. You just need to be a savage. Quit being weak. Speak with authority. Be assertive. Be a leader. All right, the next thing is the difference between nice and kind. So, yeah, I'm not saying being weird or anything rude or anything like that, but what is the difference between nice and kind? I think understanding this helps really change everything for people. Being nice says, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. And being kind says, hey, I care enough to tell you the truth. And those are completely different. If your best friend was drinking every single night, destroying their marriage, losing their health, would it be kind to ignore it? No. Would it be easier? Yeah, it'd be easier, but it wouldn't be kind, okay? Real kindness requires courage. Real kindness sometimes makes people uncomfortable. That's exactly what great sales looks like. Sometimes your prospect needs someone to say, you've been saying you'll fix this for 3 years. You told me this problem is costing you money every single month. You've tried doing it yourself, so help me understand. What's going to be the difference? Hey, and another thing I like to tell people is, what's going to be the difference 6 months from now if you don't make a different decision today? Bam! That's not pressure, that's perspective, and I think that's what you need to understand. And you're not understanding it, right? And that's why you're watching this video today, because you're one of those nice salespeople, and I am too. But understand that you have this beautiful personality, and that people naturally gravitate towards it. So just live in that, okay? You don't have to try and convince people to like you. That leads me to my next segment. Your job isn't to convince people. It's interesting. It's interesting. I think it's another huge mistake is that salespeople think they're supposed to convince people. I don't believe that. I really think that your job is to help people. And those are two different things. If I spend an hour trying to convince you, you'll probably resist me. But if I ask questions that make you realize something yourself, now it's your conclusion, not mine. People defend themselves against pressure. People rarely defend themselves against their own logic, and that's why questions are so powerful. Instead of saying you need this program, I want you to ask, what happens if nothing changes over the next year? Instead of saying this will make you more money, I want you to ask, what would one new client a month mean for your business? Instead of saying this is a great investment, well, why don't you ask them a question? Why don't you ask, what does waiting already cost you? And what happens is, they end up selling themselves. And I'd rather have them sell themselves than me. I mean, I don't know. You guys ever heard? I don't believe in it. I don't get burnt out because I got that dog mentality. I'd rather die than lose. I don't know how else to say it. So I forget where I was going with all of that. Anyways, let's go to the next section. Silence is one of the greatest sales tools. Silence is one of the greatest sales tools. So most people are terrified of silence. I do training every day, and listening to them when they're talking, I go in this thing called whisper mode. Ring Central. It's a calling app. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but Ring Central is this beautiful, beautiful app where I can actually listen to them, okay, and help them close deals. So inside of those deals, especially in negotiation or when I'm getting a pain resonating question that I would like to ask, right? So for that right there, what I'm able to do is I'm able to go into whisper mode, okay, and I'm able to help them with their silence. And I'll get them to pause and ask questions, and a lot of times I can feel the salesperson, I can feel it in them that they want to go. And And I have to be there to say, no, don't say anything. Don't say anything. In those moments, they learn, right? Like, you don't have me there to do that. So you just need to remember in your head, like, hey, if when I'm making good points or I'm asking good questions where I want them to talk, I got to use silence as a tool. And most of you guys are terrified of silence. The second the prospect stops talking, you jump in, explain, talk, filling space, trying to save the conversation. You don't have to do that, because it's like silence isn't awkward. Silence is where decisions happen. When someone is thinking, don't interrupt it. Like, let them process, okay? Some of the biggest deals I've ever closed happened after 10 or 15 seconds of complete silence. The prospect wasn't ignoring me. They're just wrestling with the darn decision up here. Oh, man, I want to do it. He's right. They're selling themselves. So if you jump in too soon, you interrupt the moment that creates the sale. So let them sell themselves. Let them think it through. A lot of times, they're going to do it. If you solve their problem and provide value and speak to the outcome, and you build a bond, and there's return on investment, they're going to do it. So you don't ever have to worry about that. It's hard to not do things that make sense, I guess, is how I like to look at it. And I'm pretty much always right when it comes to sales. Well, I wouldn't say always right. I mean, that's impossible. It's sales. But that's pretty much the formula. Anyway, I have many videos on formula. So I want to also say that in terms of the best salespeople, okay, the best salespeople that I know, they challenge people. Think about the people who've changed your life, like a great coach or a mentor, maybe a parent. Hey, maybe even a teacher, okay? Did they tell you what you wanted to hear? No. Or what you needed to hear. The ones that I know, mine challenge me constantly. And honestly, sometimes I hate it. Even to this day. I'm like, man, are you kidding me? But that's what I live for. And I'm so thankful to have people around me that do push me to the next level. I couldn't be more thankful. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like, it's not getting on me or getting after me. It's helping me get better. And I think that's what you guys need to look at and look into the mirror. Also, you should coach yourselves. I think that's huge. And in those conversations, when I look back on things, they changed my life. Because growth requires confrontation, not yelling, not arguing. And I wouldn't say confrontation. I would call it more confrontation with reality. Hey, this isn't working, this needs to go. And that has helped push me to the next level so much more. So I couldn't be more thankful for those kind of things. And really, I've learned that and adopted that on my own, just through the experiences that I've experienced. So in doing the sales job, I've seen that life and sales are very similar. Actually, they blend very well the more I think about it. It's the same thing happens in sales, okay? Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is helping them see the truth that they've been avoiding. So it's all about being assertive and challenging people, but also off the phone, you should be assertive and challenge yourself as well. So that way when you're on the phone, you do a really good job. One of the next things I'd like to cover in this video, man, the more videos I make, the longer they get, but I can't stop learning. I'm addicted to learning, winning, making sales legends. We make a lot of sales legends, I'll say that. You watching this video, you're going to make a lot of sales legends. A lot of people say, Nate, you might be a little arrogant or no. I understand that belief is important, but I'm also extremely realistic too. But I think that's a good way to be in sales, and it's a good way to be in life too. So with that being said, stop chasing approval. So I do have a challenge for you guys. So the next time that you get on a sales call, stop asking yourself, do they like me? And giggling and being weird. I don't like that kind of stuff. I like winning, okay? I want you to start asking, am I helping them make the best decision for their future? Those are completely different questions. One creates anxiety, the other creates purpose. And when your purpose becomes helping, you stop sounding needy. And you stop chasing approval, and you stop forcing the sell. You become calm, confident, curious. You actually listen instead of waiting your turn to talk. And ironically, people usually like you more, not because you tried to be like, because they trust people who have the courage to tell the truth. was struggling to get it out there. That's what happens when you win. Got 1,000 things on my brain about what I want to tell you. But here's the thing. I'm going to conclude this video here. But if there's one thing I want you to remember from this video, it's that your job isn't to make prospects comfortable. It's that your job is to make everything clear to them. Clear about where they are, where they want to go, and clear about what's standing in the way. So with that clarity, you're going to close way more deals. So if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you in, I think, probably for the rest of your life. So make sure you like and subscribe.